Welcome back.
Welcome back. We're the Synchronicity Sisters. We own a company called Synchronicity, and we do microdosing, reframing,
Relationship work, conscious work.
how to live life better.
How to be a better human. I am Nicole.
And I'm Megan.
Today, we're going to talk about a very fun topic.
Yeah, so today I think that it's a great time to talk about Puer aeternuses, and they can be men or women, or Dalmatians. Dalmatians, it's...
She's an eternal youth forever. She's a kid. She doesn't have thumbs. Huh. You don't have thumbs.
But the Puer aeternus archetype is like the godchild. So if you think of like Eros or anything, before he married Psyche, he was a Puer aeternus, and then Zeus made him grow up. But that's who it refers to. It's Greek for eternal youth.
If you're not familiar with Greek mythology, go watch Peter Pan. Peter Pan is a Puer aeternus.
Peter Pan is a Puer aeternus.
A.k.a. Peter Pan syndrome.
Right. So in today's world, we have a epidemic of men that have never grown up because their mothers have never let them.
Yes.
And so we have created a society of men-child
Eternal youth child.
that are Puer aeternuses. If you've ever met an airplane pilot, he's probably a Puer aeternus. No offense to pilots, but it's a god complex. They want to be a god because in their mother's eyes, she basically worshipped him. So pilots have a god complex. And I used to fly with a lot of them. Some of them I loved, but the minority is great. The majority has a god complex, and sorry, not sorry. Like, they don't want to grow up.
No, I mean, the thing is like, and we're seeing it, like you said, like, there's this epidemic of boss bitch women that just like emasculates everything and just like never lets a man grow up, right? And if you go a couple podcasts back, Meg actually talks about like, sometimes she's so triggered on how like some people talk to their husbands. That's mothering. These men like don't have a voice. They've just been like told what to do their whole lives. And that is ideally never allowing a man to think or feel or like have immunity in a relationship. And that's what happens in the Puer aeternus, is that it is a feminine wound within the masculine, but the mother never let him grow up.
Right. So the psychology of the Puer aeternus is at 11, a man is a man. If you continue to tell your son how to cut his hair, what to wear, just essentially like what to do and how to live his life, you are emasculating him and you're creating a Puer aeternus because you won't let your little boy grow up, which makes you a narcissistic mother because you refuse to let your little baby grow up, and he's a man. You have to let him go at some point. You're doing a disservice to humanity by continuing to mother him and not letting him become a man. It's just detrimental to his psyche and to humanity in general.
Well, and like what we're seeing in like a cultural aspect, and like we've had clients come to us that are totally, totally in this, like completely collapsed. Like
the majority of my exes are Puer aeternuses.
Yeah,
it's not even clients. Like, I have dated Puer aeternuses that their mommy fixes everything for them.
Yes,
and I wonder why he doesn't want a wife.
Well, and the thing is that men are also looking for a mommy if their mother did this, and we're in this like societal thing of like a man is not a man when a woman is telling him what to do, how to think, what to wear, all of the above. Like, that is a child. You did not come out of my uterus. I'm sorry, sir. You are not getting bossed around. But they're looking for that. They're looking for someone to stand up for them and fight for them. And they can kind of be like meek in the background, and they don't have a voice per se.
I would say that beta men are that way. And the thing is like an alpha archetype is not going to fall into this. It's the guys that kind of like are super androgynous and walk kind of between the masculine and feminine more, where they're going to, because I have seen young men, and they're a minority, which alphas are, just tell their mothers to like sit down and stop.
But I'm saying in general, like when men are looking to be mothered and to be told what to do, it comes and stems from a feminine wound created in childhood. Do you actually think that like an alpha it's an unhealed wound within an alpha then?
Yeah, I mean, again, alpha exists on a spectrum. So yes and no. You would have to be kind of like more in the in-between, because a very high alpha man has an alpha father that will keep the mother from emasculating his son.
But then a puer aeternus wouldn't be created.
Right. It's from weak masculinity.
Right.
So yeah, we have an extreme, I know what you're trying to say, but we have an extreme feminine wound in men right now.
Yes.
That are creating puer aeternuses, and men want a mommy to do their laundry and cook and clean and also work and do all of these things. And they're these beautiful, charming man-child. And they can't stick to anything, and they don't know commitment. They don't know intimacy. It's all about them. They're narcissistic little boys, because children are all narcissists until they grow up and they realize, oh, in order to get love, I have to give love. It's not just all about me. But these little boys that grow up and become full-grown men never realize that. So the puer aeternus archetype is why narcissism is being talked about so much in relationships nowadays. It's actually the feminine wound in men that creates puer aeternuses, and everyone's calling them narcissists, which, yes and no. It also can be called Machiavellism. There's so many different words for it, but it's actually men. And I've actually had ex-boyfriends call themselves Peter Pan, which is like so insane. And if you want more information about this, Maria von Franz wrote the book called Puer Aeternus, but it's like
it's really hard to read. It's a lot.
Unless you want a degree in psychology, I wouldn't recommend reading it. It's kind of complex. But Maria von Franz was one of Carl Jung's prodigies, and she did a lot of work. Because puer aeternus, the term is coined by actually Carl Jung,
yes,
who was very, very into Greek mythology. So, Jung saw this happening, but what's happening, even more so now is that, like, because women aren't getting the love from the masculine that they want, they try to keep their little boys so that they always have that mother-daughter or son-mother relationship and feeling that love, and they don't want him to grow up and find a wife. And it's actually super incestual. Like puer aeternuses, it's a super incestual relationship. So even though they're not having sex with the mom, it's still energetically like they are, because they're in love with their mothers and they want their mommy to fix everything. So I'm telling you that this is very, very dark. And if you're doing it, please stop. Or if you're dating men and mothering them, like doing their laundry and things like that, please stop. That is gross. You do not mother a man past 11. Period. If you are a mother of a child that is past 11, that is male, teach him how to do his own laundry. It's called Fisher King Woo. You will be so much happier with your life if you teach your son how to cherish you and you respect him and he has to grow up and be a man, than you are going to have a 40-year-old son living in your basement, masturbating to OnlyFans, or is such a fucking dickhead that he's super attractive and is having sex with a different woman every night and is actually in love with you, so he can't find his own woman because he's still a child. You're going to get one or the other. And neither one of these extremes is good, but those are the archetypes. It's the boy that never grows up. So either he's sleeping around because he's attractive, or he's sitting on his couch playing video games, masturbating, and has never had sex with a girl and is an incel.
Well, yeah. And, you see it very much right now in the world, right? A lot of men, at least what I'm seeing, is that a lot of them are ungrounded. They're, you meet a guy like in his mid-30s and they're just like all over the place. There's no discipline, and it's like they just want someone to take care of them. They like are looking for a mother.
So the difference between healthy masculine and toxic masculine, or the difference between a Puer aeternus and a man that's actually a man, is a Puer aeternus is seeking to be served by women.
Yes.
He wants a mother that worships the ground he walks on, does his laundry. Like, he's a godchild,
Serves
wants
him.
to be worshipped. Okay. But a man that is a man seeks to be of service. He wants to give, protect, and cherish the feminine. He's grounded. He makes a woman feel safe. So these Puer aeternuses, it's actually funny because I saw a post on Instagram that says, when the devil can't reach you, he sends a broke man that's good in bed.
A broke, pretty man.
A beautiful man.
A beautiful man.
Anyway, it's a Puer aeternus. Great in bed.
Broke as shit.
But broke as shit. And you'll never, unless he's from generational wealth, so he's a trust fund baby, Puer aeternuses never have any money. Their mommy's still supporting them.
Yes.
You know, they're just sex obsessed. They're the man with the mala beads that are like, I feel you
meditated
have
about
bad
you.
energy right in your coochie, essentially. Like, let me help you with that. You know what I mean? Like, they just want to have sex with you.
No,
They're not
it's
trying
your
to, like,
it's your root chakra.
whatever.
In your root chakra or your sacral chakra.
They're like, I feel the tension. I'm
I
like,
meditated
yeah.
about you last night, or you came into my
Yeah,
meditation.
you were in my dreams.
You were in my
You
meditation.
came into my meditation. We're soulmates. Like,
Twin flames.
this is toxic spiritual bullshit.
Steves.
And you'll meet a lot of them at like tantra retreats, or just go on Instagram, and these super hyper feminine men that I'm totally guilty of dating, that I have sworn off of now because I realize it's my wound of not growing up in my feminine, of like cherishing feminine men. Because our dad is a Puer aeternus feminine man.
He is a Puer
So I've been attracted to them.
He's definitely inherited.
He still has a mommy.
Yeah, he does. He married one.
He still has a mommy, and he's from generational wealth. So it's just really funny.
We know the archetype well.
We have lived this archetype with growing up with a dad like this. I'll only speak for myself, dated men like this. But something like your nervous system's not regulated around them. And I think that also, like, if you look at Peter Pan and what's happened with me and my relationships with Puer aeternuses, if you can even call it a relationship, is that they have multiple women too.
Yes,
They are polyamorous. So this polyamorous culture, no man that is a man believes in polyamory, because he would not share. If a man is willing to share you, he is in his feminine. Yes. Period.
Not saying that the feminine like to share, though. It's just a wound in the masculine.
Well, it's a wound.
It's a non-territorial thing.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Women share easier than men.
Yes.
I'm not saying that that's a good thing. I'm just saying that, like, men do not share well because of testosterone.
Well, in healthy feminine, if a woman is healthy and self-centered and self-love, if a man steps out on her, she says, fine, I'll find better. That is true healthy feminine, because she knows her worth, and he, in a sense, is willing to share, but most likely won't take back the shared goods, because she'll be like, no, thank you. I love myself more.
Who wants a communal dick?
No, thank you.
But that's a Puer aeternus.
Yeah, that's how you get a coochie rash, or other things. And you see this if you watch the movie Hook. Peter Pan, or any of the Peter Pan, right? He has a choice either to stay in Never Never Land with the Lost Boys and like be a child, or come and be an adult. Like, he literally has this choice of whether he wants to grow up or not. And there's temptations along the way. But that movie is a great psychology breakdown of how a Puer aeternus evolves.
Well, Wendy was his mother. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she was like, bye. And he was like, wait, where are you going? Stop mothering men.
Yes.
You're not going to fall in love. Or, well, you might think that you're in love, but you're really just... Also, mothering is masculine. Yes. I know it's a common misconception that, like, mothering is feminine and nurturing and all of that. That is actually masculine.
Yes.
So...
Because you're providing, you're protecting...
And you're cherishing.
Because you have to be able to keep the little squish alive.
You're doing, which is masculine.
A lot.
Being is feminine. Yes. So, if moment of silence for all the women that are currently dating Puer aeternuses and mothering men with their vaginas. Do not mother a man with your vagina, okay? Your vagina is for you know, a man
making.
that was so weird. Like, just to have self-respect and, you know, just to the feminine, love yourself better than you love a man. It will serve you.
You cannot
so much in the long run.
Sex with him and make him fall in love with you. Your vagina will not make him fall in love with you. A puer aeternus. It will not. It does not work that way.
Well, puer aeternuses are not capable of love.
Right,
They're
but I'm
narcissists.
saying, like, you think your vagina is going to make them fall in love. That's not real. It's a facade.
Also, if a man has an unhealthy relationship with his mother and they seem like weirdly close, run away.
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing that's happening right now. Like,
Yeah.
like so many men, and like I think they have like mom on like super speed dial. Like, whoa.
Okay, so also red flag. If your boyfriend, husband, whatever, gets in the car and lets his mother drive, red
Or pay
flag.
for anything. Weird.
Like,
Don't do that.
my ex, I remember thinking, like, what the fuck? His mom is, like, probably in her 70s. And I FaceTime him, and he's in the passenger seat. I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I should have broke up with him right then.
Mind you, actually, I'm not even going to make an excuse for him whether he was jet lagged or not. He could have still been an adult, drank some coffee, and drove himself 45 minutes.
He's not an adult.
No,
That's
I'm
his
just,
problem.
I'm just saying, like, I can't even make like a really good excuse for him to like get out of that.
He, like, throws temper tantrums when anybody
Yeah.
tries to make him responsible. And, like, the whole thing was just a complete disaster.
But that's how you can actually spot a puer aeternus, the temper tantrums and the abusive behavior. Like, they
Yeah.
can be very abusive, like silent treatment. They can be very much in victimhood. It's all your fault. They really are good at manipulating like emotions.
Yeah, they can't stick it through when things get difficult. They're
No.
never consistent. Everything's about them. They'll gaslight you. If you try to
Yes.
talk about your feelings, it's about their feelings.
There's no vulnerability. There's no.
Yeah, it's all about
surface
them.
level. Yeah, and a lot of times they're hypersexualized. I have found.
Well,
like a lot of them are like
Their relationships are centered around sex because that's all they
Yes.
understand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it can be very. It can turn very toxic. Well, it's already toxic, but it can turn extremely toxic and very abusive very quickly if you're not aware of actually what is happening. I think more and more women are actually, like you said earlier, like everyone's throwing around the word narcissist, but they are narcissists, but they're dating a bunch of little boys still and like trying to make them into husbands. And like, that's not going to happen until they are aware of it and they choose to do the work as well, because the best thing that you would ever want in your life is if you're doing the work for your partner to do the work as well.
Yeah, and I just, if you're being selfless as a woman, you're going to attract these type of men because they're extremely self-centered and everything is about them.
They hate boundaries.
And women are, well, they
They hate boundaries.
they won't put up with them, and
Yeah.
they'll gaslight your boundaries. And if you bring up anything that they
They
did
lie,
wrong,
they cheat, they steal. They will do anything
Yeah.
for their
so
pretty...
they'll marry you, but
Never land to land.
you know, if you're a good enough mommy to them. But heaven forbid you take up any space. So the best thing that you can do if you've dated somebody like this is just love yourself more than you love. Just if you're not going to date somebody like this if you love yourself. And that's what I was missing is like, you know, it was self-love. And when I started to love myself, the relationship completely broke down because he wasn't a 10 anymore. He was having to like shrink down to like a 7 or an 8.
And then he threw a temper tantrum.
And he didn't even throw a temper tantrum. I was just done with it. I was like, this is not fun anymore.
Well, but also I think it, you know, like in our last podcast of like the triggers, right? Like when you start like stepping in and doing like some really deep soul work and like understanding your consciousness and like these things start to show up in your life because you're like, you weren't aware of it beforehand. I wasn't aware of it beforehand. We were both, I mean, I can speak for myself. Like I didn't want to grow up. Like I was definitely a puer aeternus at one point. Like what's discipline? Fuck that. Like I don't like discipline. I don't like rules. I don't like boundaries. And it was a hard look in the mirror of like, oh, like I can still have healthy relationships around people when they tell me no, like, or with myself, right? You have to understand your own thresholds and you have to be able to willingly look at that because that can be really hard to see because we attract what we are.
we attract our missing pieces, or something that we need to see, or something that our parents were that hurt us, or when we're trying to grow in consciousness, we always have challenges. And, 9 times out of 10, they show up as relationships, the unhealed parts of you. And I will say that, like, I'm actually super grateful for that relationship that even took place and everything. But there's a really good book by Gabor Mate that says when the body says no. And I will say that it was my body that really started to reject him because I didn't feel safe.
Right.
And so as a feminine, woman, all women are feminine, but like as a woman that actually understands that femininity is in the nervous system and in the heart, when I honored that, it actually quite literally saved me from so much suffering and pain. Because I was like, this is just not happening anymore. So,
well, but that's a part of, understanding and growing, like, because women that are Puer aeternuses, they're technically, I would say that they're in their masculine, right? They're over they're like so far in their masculine and they are feminine. They have no discipline whatsoever, right? Or is it the opposite? No, it's flipped.
So in women, it can be more dualistic.
Right.
So with women, you either get like a woman that essentially is like a bold dyke. Like, and I don't mean that derogatory, but it's like that kind of archetype of just like super hyper masculinity in the feminine.
Right.
Or more commonly, you get a complete doormat that just, so like my ex and I had the same wound.
Right.
I just took up no space whatsoever because that's what I was taught by our dad is like, well, and just our parents in general, it's like, don't take up any space. If you don't exist, then you get love. Because what happens in childhood, right, with trauma is, women are supposed to be love. And when they're not loved correctly, they don't understand how to love themselves, and so they don't understand how to love other people. So they think that being a doormat and not ever saying anything is love,
right?
Because everybody else gets to like take up the space.
So the female Puer aeternus is the doormat who doesn't. She's selfless. She has no boundaries with anybody. She just lets everyone walk all over her. And the Puer aeternus male, right?
Over empathetic,
right? And then the male Puer aeternus takes up all of the space. It's all about him. No one else can have anything. And so a lot of times, they go hand in hand together. They're both Puer aeternuses. Like doormat and narcissist do really well together in relationships. But if one is always mothering and the other one never wants to grow up, it's a violent cycle of toxic relationship.
Yeah, or you can get into like both extremes are really the same, and it just depends on what relationship you're in. Like some people are doormats in some relationships and narcissistic in others, depending on if that person is weaker than you. And to say, so, you get, there's narcissism exists on a scale as doormat does.
Right.
You get the super narcissistic
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10, which in women, it's hyper masculinity is narcissism. In men, hyper narcissism is feminine. So that's why effeminate men are more narcissistic and masculine women are more narcissistic.
Right.
And then you get the doormats, which are also just as angry and self-obsessed because they don't take up any space. So technically it's the same wound. It's just manifesting differently.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, is that they both usually attract each other because they see and mirror each other.
But they're opposite ends of the spectrum.
Right.
Yeah, like
right.
super masculine, super feminine. And it's
right.
like they're they're essentially ego dystonic.
They're
inside
running.
out.
Yeah, they're flipped.
Inside out.
Yeah.
And they date each other because they're trying to heal the wound.
Yeah. In each other, and it's a violent cycle of holy cow.
But narcissists, there's a lot of, they can heal, they can't. I haven't seen it yet.
No. I mean, narcissistic tendencies definitely can.
Right, but full-blown narcissists that can't take accountability for anything, and
can't
I've dated
accept
some, like they...
Well, and that's the other thing,
they
like,
can't change.
Puer aeternuses are not good at... Well, they cannot, because if they are full narcissists, they have no ability to self-reflect, right? They are not able to say, I'm sorry. They're not able to take responsibility. They're not able to have empathy.
Well, they're able to say those things. They just aren't actually feeling them.
Right.
So they will use it as a manipulation tactic because they want something, but they don't actually I mean, psychopaths are the only ones that can't feel remorse.
Right.
Sociopaths and narcissists can feel remorse. It's just a lower...
Or are they changing their behavior, but then that goes to character.
But if they start to self-respect, they completely like self-destruct.
Right.
So they just say it's everybody else's fault because they're just like black holes of wound and pain. And so they just disassociate from their pain and self-reflection because they literally cannot deal with their pain.
Well, and the word narcissist comes from the Greek mythology of Narcissus, and we learned this the other day. But great story. Definitely, if you want to learn more, you should Google that one. We might do a podcast on it at some point, but not today. So if you're out there mothering men, and you don't know how to stop mothering men, or this is triggering the heck out of you, we'd love for you to comment, share, like, unlike, unfollow, share with your friends. Don't share with your friends. But we're really just here so that we can help heal this on a grander scale, because just like you, we used to be there, and without awareness, we would have never been able to heal it in ourselves. So you're welcome.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here and listening. And if you want to learn more, like, share. And of course, we always take, what do you want to hear about? What do you want to learn about?
Yep. Comment below if you want us to pick our brain about anything. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.